Hey guys, welcome to a very special episode of It's All About the Music. I'm Chris Norwood, and I'm trying to listen to every piece of music ever recorded in the history of the universe. Today, I'm going to be bringing you ranking the studio albums by The Who, one of my favorite classic rock and roll bands. Favorite older rock bands, for sure. Probably one of my favorite rock groups of all time. Absolutely love The Who. I got into them because I started to discover a lot of the 90s music that I was listening to was influenced by Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey and Keith Moon and that other guy, John Entwistle. So, we got all the introductions out of the way. You know, there's been some other members of The Who, but that's the classic Who lineup. Doesn't matter at all. Because, man, 50 plus years later, these guys are still rocking, still putting out really great music. So let's just jump right into my list, shall we? Coming in, we're going to be starting with the worst and working our way up to the best. And I'm a pretty big fan of most Who records. But there's a few here that just don't really do it for me. Coming in at the worst is going to be It's Hard, and this one just suffers from that something happens in 80s records by musicians that have been around since the 60s, and it tends to be really bad. I'm not sure. It's fine to use synthesizers. It's fine to keep up with the changing times. But just a lot of bands really lost it in the 80s. This does have some good tunes on it. A lot of people like Eminence Front. That was never one of my favorite Who tunes. But there's a couple of okay tracks. But overall, that record's just really mediocre, in my opinion, or really bad compared to some of the other stuff that came before and after it. So let's just jump right ahead. And I know this next pick is going to be controversial because this is a very highly regarded record, Quadrophenia. Now, I jumped on the bandwagon. I wanted to love this record so much. The Punk and the Godfather, The Punk Meets the Godfather is okay. I'm One is a highlight. And of course, 515 and Love Reign Over Me. Love Reign Over Me, O'er Me, Pete's theme. Oh my gosh, it's one of the greatest pieces of music of all time, in my opinion. I could just listen, that song kills me inside. If you want to get like a really emotional Who song, the deep cut, Real Good Looking Boy. That song just really wrecks me. It's one of my favorite songs ever. But we're not talking about that because it's not on a studio record. You jerks. Okay, so It's Hard and Quadrophenia not really doing it for me aside for some really great tracks on there. Coming in next is going to be a more modern record, which it was really a disappointing record for me. Back in 2006, Endless Wire. You know, there was a huge gap between records, and this one just kind of failed to live up to expectations. And just, there's something like Tea and Theater would probably be my highlight off of that record, but it's just such a disappointment after waiting for, years and years and years for a record. It could have been a little better. I liked it, but it wasn't great. Coming in next is going to be the 1967 record, The Who Sell Out. Now this one, I think this is where things start to get really, really good, in my opinion. Marianne with the Shaky Hands, I Can See for Miles. This is where they really started to see some success in their career in 67. But, overall the skits didn't work for me. I do not like skits on records. I don't like intros, and I don't like skits. I don't like talking. Generally. There's some exceptions. out there in the wild world of rock and roll, but not too many. Get rid of your intros, get rid of your talking, get rid of your droning nonsense tracks. For the most part. Okay, coming in next. I'm Not Angry Anymore. This is going to be Faces Dance. This one, really terrible album art there. But let's just take a look at what this one offers in terms of music. You Better You Bet is a great way to kick things off. Don't Let Go the Coat, the quiet one. Did You Steal My Money? Oh, there's an interesting story if you want to check out my video about Pete Townshend's autobiography. It's in there too, I think. Somebody stole his money. I just gave away. Another Tricky Day. This is a really good record. Really good record. Faces Dance is way better than you remember it being. Go check it out again. So this is where the Who start to get really good. Okay, what do we got next? The Who. There's a couple different names for it, but it's they're My Generation. And this one had some really classic tunes on it. La 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 is My Generation. The Kids Are All Right. That's one of my favorite songs of all time. A Legal Matter. This is a really good, solid album. I really enjoyed My Generation a whole lot. Coming in next, man, things are just getting better and better. This is where things are just freaking epic. I see this one in discount record bins all the time, and I really just need to snatch up a $2 copy of Who Are You? Who, the bleep are you? Had Enough, Sister Disco, Music Must Change, Trick of the Light. Who are you? I really want to know. 1978, man. That thing is killer. This one, my list might get a little controversial here, so bear with me. If you disagree, that's fine. That's what this is all about. Like Pete Pardo says over on Sea of Tranquility. It's got a much... Never mind. Anyway, The Who, By the Numbers. I love this record. Absolutely love this record. And there's more. There's 4 more records after this. I love this one. Slip Kid, However Much I Booze. Squeeze by Mama's got a squeeze by Daddy never sleeps at night. Dreaming from the Waist. Imagine a Man. Blue, Red, and Gray. How Many Friends is a highlight. Check out How Many Friends. How many friends have I really got? Okay, Who by the Numbers 75. 10 years before I was born. Amazing. There's some context there. Coming in next is Astoundingly. Who's next? Who do you think is next? Who's on first? Who's next? Iconic album cover. Can't stop saying that this week. Baba O'Reilly. Pete Townshend's got an interesting religion. I'll say that. But Baba O'Reilly is really cool. Bargain is really great. A religious tune again. Love Ain't for Keeping. My Wife. The Song Is Over. Getting in Tune. Going Immobile. Blue Behind Blue Eyes. And Won't Get Fooled Again. This thing is freaking epic beyond proportions. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that Who's Next is a bad album. I mean, that thing is just freaking classic after classic after classic after classic after classic. However many songs is on there, every one of them is a classic. Coming in next is going to be an odd, probably, I haven't heard too much talk about this record because it hasn't been out that long. It came out the end of 2019, and it's the self-titled Who. Actually, it's not really self-titled because the band are called The Who, and this is just Who. Really, really good album. Much better production, much better songwriting than the Endless Wire that came before it. This album is perfect. Perfect record in 2019. 54 years after they came out. 54 years later. And it's amazing. Even the bonus edition is really great. The Japanese bonus track is great. Man, darn near perfect record. Really, really blew me away in 2019. That was unbelievable. Now we put the phone down because we're getting into the really good stuff. The next record just has "Oh Yeah" written beside it in big letters because that's how amazing this record is. It's one of those life-changing records, guys. And this isn't even my top pick. This is my second pick. Life freaking changing. Gotta go with Tommy by The Who. This is 24 tracks. This is the best record ever to have that many songs. I can't think of another album with over 20 tracks that's this good. This thing is perfect in every flippin' way. Again, I really got into The Who by Green Day. Green Day were heavily influenced by the things that The Who were doing. And most of those things are found on this record. You know, if you're a Green Day fan or you're a punk rock fan, check this out. Check out the movie too if you like goofy, weird movies from the past. Tommy, what can you say? This is amazing journey. Sparks was included in the movie Almost Famous. Check that movie out. Eyesight to the Blind is a great cover. You got Christmas tunes. You got abuse. You got drugs. You got more abuse. You got pinball. You got wizards. You got doctors and mirrors. Sensations. You got miracle cures. You got a girl. You got to have a girl in there. Or a boy. You got boys and girls and everybody. Everybody's welcome here. I'm free. Welcome. You got a holiday camp. And you got Twisted Sister cover. I'm just kidding. They both have a song called We're Not Gonna Take It. And guess what? They're both really great songs. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. What's even more wowie is that was number 2. How can Tommy by The Who be my second favorite Who record? How? How can that possibly be? How? See, this is my notes. I actually threw my ranking away. Then my original video recording device, my thingy there, the camera, broke. And I lost my Ranking the Studio albums by The Who. Are you guys ready for the greatest The Who record of all time? It's reflecting on my chin. My chinny chin chin. Oh man. The greatest album by 60s rock and rollers, The Who, is a quick one. Again, this was their earliest attempt at, they were messing around with the idea of making a concept record before that was even a thing. There were some other people that were kind of experimenting with the same thing around the same time. So there's some debate on who did it first. But I want to say Pete Townsend did it here first. A quick one. And this has some really wild covers, some acoustic tracks. I think this is I don't know if I got a deluxe edition here or what, but there is 20 tracks on here. You got Run, 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 Boris the Spider, I Need You, Whiskey Man, Heat Wave, Cobwebs and Strange, Don't Look Away, See My So Sad About Us, and the title track, a quick one, While He's Away. It's 9 minutes and 10 seconds. It tells the story of a man who has gone missing. And he's presumed dead. And his family misses him. And his wife, eventually she moves on and she starts seeing other men. And then, after some time has passed, and some horses have been ridden, and some cellos have been played, the husband comes back home? Will things ever be the same again? Can they pick up where they left off? Will things ever be the same? Will his horse die in the rain? Will there be cellos forever? Will he forgive her? Can he forgive her? Will anyone be forgiven? Will John Entwistle be forgiven? Will Keith Moon be forgiven? Will Roger Daltrey be forgiven? Will Pete Townsend be forgiven? Will I be forgiven? Will my Chihuahua be forgiven? Will we all be forgiven? Oh my gosh, guys. If you have not heard A Quick One While He's Away, make yourself about, I was going to say 10 minutes. You need about 40 minutes because you're going to have to listen to it 4 times in a row. And you're going to be jumping around on your couch in your underwear, maybe naked, singing this song. The You Are Forgiven. It ends in this explosive, it just builds up to this epic, you're so tied up in this story about, you can just hear the pleading and the begging in this woman's voice, like, I really screwed up. I thought you were dead. I thought you were gone. I missed you so much. And I kissed a few. And there were a few others. Oh gosh, you're alive. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get teary-eyed talking about this story. And you don't even get to hear the man's response. Maybe he didn't even have a response until you get, you're forgiven. You are forgiven. You are forgiven. You're forgiven. You're forgiven, 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 forgiven. You are forgiven. You are forgiven. You're all forgiven. That's like, I almost wish there was like a super bonus version of A Quick One While He's Away, where that little end part that's so epic and so exciting, it just goes on forever. Just gets crazier and crazier as the forgiveness just explodes, and it's really great. It's really great even to just hear Pete Townsend talking about that song. It's just, I feel like he perfected music in that tune. And there's just really nothing better, in my opinion, anywhere in the Who's discography of amazing records. There's just nothing better than this. Batman. I love Batman. Bucket T. Barbara Ann. Disguises. Dr. Doctor. I've Been Away in the City. Happy Jack. Man with the Money. And My Generation / Land of Hope and Glory. This is the greatest Who record of all time. This is the second greatest Who record of all time. I gotta say, even their worst album, It's Hard, I might go back and revisit it just for the heck of it to see what I think. The Who will always have a special place in my heart. I grew up hearing, a song here, a song there. But like I said, Green Day was some of their best material. It was inspired by The Who. And once I started digging and researching and listening to The Who, I figured out, the Beatles were huge. But I feel like without The Who, I feel like rock and roll would not have got the edge that it got. I mean, there still probably would have been heavy music. There still would have been heavy metal. But I feel like The Who really influenced a lot of punk rock, a lot of heavy metal, a lot of really great pop rock, and almost all of the alternative rock and alternative and grunge and things like that. Feel like a lot of it, a huge helping chunk of it, The Who. Pete Townsend, he's a little bit arrogant sometimes. He thinks that the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix, he thinks all those guys were stealing his ideas. And in reality, I think they were all kind of in this boiling pot of really talented musicians that were coming up in the 60s, that just really had a lot of great ideas, and nobody had really done things like that with music before. But Pete Townsend really did contribute a lot to the music community with power chords. Power chords, guys. He flippin' invented the power chord on the guitar. He virtually, personally invented modern guitar sounds. Now, like I said, there are other people involved. It wasn't exclusively him. But he was at the beginning. He was, the Marshall stacks, the power chord, destroying your guitar. Just enough cannot be said about the contributions to rock and roll of The Who. And they're still together. They're still making music. And Pete Townsend has even said, even without Roger Daltrey, maybe if something were, God forbid, love Roger Daltrey, love his solo work too. Pete Townsend will continue The Who as long as Pete Townsend wants to continue The Who. I don't think I could see The Who without Pete Townsend. I don't know. Possibly if it were, we're down to Roger and Paul, or Pete. Paul. So we're down to Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend at this point. I'm not, and I don't want to even think about it, but they're both, later in their life. I don't want to call them old. I could see a Roger Daltrey doing The Who without Pete Townsend. It would be very different. It would be very, very different. And Roger Daltrey would have to want to write music. For some reason, he can write lyrics, he can write music, he can play all these instruments, and he doesn't, because he lets Pete. And Pete Townsend can make music on his own, and it would be The Who. So, either way, maybe we'll get 20 more years of The Who. Maybe we'll get 30 more years of The Who. I don't know. We don't know, right? Here's to 100 more years of The Who. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.